I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we are discussing fairy tale retellings. But first, Deb, will you please give a teaser for our nerdiest cocktail?
Yeah, and I don't know why, but when you said fairy tale retellings, I wanted to go.
I was feeling like there needed
Where's
to be
the sound?
some kind of sound, something.
Yeah, what sound would you make?
I don't know, something maybe like wind chimes.
Or like the Wayne's World. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Someone called me a Wayne's World aficionado this weekend.
And you're like, thank you.
I was super excited about it. I was like, yes, that is.
It's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
They go, what movie is that? And I was like, oh, that's in 2. So on to our cocktail. Okay, so this week our cocktail is something that Mindy mixed up for us, and it's called Mirth Root Mojito. And I guess it pairs well with sitting on someone's face.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my favorite trope.
So you'll have to listen into our read-along episode on Thursday to get more details about that. But that description should at least get you excited about it. Mm-hmm. You can also see it on Instagram and at ournerdiestthing.com. And the listeners just turned it off.
It's time for our nerd alert, the nerdy news.
So I have 2 items of book news, and then I want to talk a little bit about where we're traveling in April. So the first book news I have is there is a new book by Holly Jackson. She's the one that wrote Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Oh, yeah.
She has a new book called Reappearance of April Price that comes out on April 2nd, and it's a true crime-fueled mystery thriller about a girl determined to uncover the shocking truth about her missing mother while filming a documentary on an unsolved case.
Ooh.
Wow. I thought that sounded really fun, and I've not read Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Have you all?
I haven't either. It's definitely on my TBR.
Sadie loved it. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I've heard it's really great. The other book I wanted to talk about with release dates is Avalon Tower by C.N. Crawford. It actually came out on March 22nd, but I'm reading the ARC currently, and it's really, really good. So there's a girl that's like on a dream European vacation, but she gets kidnapped by a demi-fae who broke her heart in high school.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
And he makes her become a spy in the fae realm.
Oh.
So it's really, really interesting. That makes it sound superficial, but it's not. Like she's kind of
that sounds really interesting.
She's like a badass from the beginning and like kind of cool. And so I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then the other nerd alert news is I just wanted to remind our listeners that in April I'll be at Readers Take Denver with my company Icon Design, and then I'll be at a Polycon with Kate Gately, and I just wanted people to come say hi to us. I'll have the Our Nerdiest Thing pop up with me, so hopefully they'll see that. But come say hi. I know I look mean, but I'm nice.
She's not mean at all.
I mean, I know I say some shit on this podcast sometimes, but I am really nice. I promise.
Like a Whitney mask to wear for a little bit.
Do you think I have a nice face?
You have the friendliest face, Mindy, so maybe I should dress as you.
I have like raging RBF.
Well, but you're the one that was always the good salesperson at least.
Oh, well, that's true.
Well, it's because they're scared of her.
Hey,
you want to buy some of this shit?
I just intimidate everybody.
Okay, let's go in order of resting bitch face amount. So I went first, so Whitney, you go next.
I just have one. They finally announced sort of the release of the second half of Outlander season 7. And right now, all we know is November 2024, which I'm going to be honest.
What the fuck?
I'm really like kind of PO'd about it.
Why? Like why?
Isn't it a year and a half?
Like, come on, guys, get your shit together.
It's a year and a half. And I saw today that they're starting to film season 8. Right now, like right now. And I don't know. I don't like it. And
it has killed the momentum of the show.
Yes, it killed it. The long wait. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that I would watch that show.
They're like, Sarah J. Maas did it. Why can't we? I'm just. It would be like a Sarah J. Maas TV show taking a year and a half break, right?
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
With TV, you just expect it faster. And it's not like this stuff's not already written.
Right. I mean, I don't know. And they finished filming.
I was going to say, it feels like it was in the editing room then.
Do you think they're trying... I've wondered if they're trying to hold out for Diana Gabaldon to finish so they can wrap it up the way it's supposed to.
I don't know, but if that is the case, I wish they'd say it instead of just like taking a really long time and then acting like everybody should be really excited about taking a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe they are. I don't know. But I wish they'd say that if that was the case, because then I would understand at least like why it's taking a year and a half to have the second half of this. It's not even a new season.
Right.
That's like, it's a year and a half
that,
of the
we
same
got,
season.
6 episodes in the season before? 7? Something like that?
I think so, yeah.
So in like 2 years, we've gotten like 12 episodes.
Something like that, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I mean,
insane.
I guess it's good to have, and it's not even a specific date. It's just November,
right?
So like November 28th. I mean, November 1st. I don't know.
I will say later on when we get to Our Nerdiest Thing, it's about Outlander for me.
Well, maybe that's my nerdiest thing for like being so heated about Outlanders.
I think the whole fandom is.
But anyway, so that's coming out in November. So mark your calendars, I guess. But
don't know what day.
I don't know what day, but November. So.
Circle the whole month of November.
Maybe start getting excited on Halloween.
Calling it the month of Frasier.
Mindy, what's your nerdy news?
So I talked a little bit about the first book in this series last episode. The Throne of Blood and Honor by Jay Bree is number 2 in her Mortal Fate series, and it comes out on April 19th. So you can get prepared by reading the 2 novellas. One's called The Scepter and the other one's called The Sword. And one follows the female main character and the other follows the male main character. And then you want to read the first book in the series, The Crown of Oaths and Curses.
So there's 2 novellas first, right?
The 2 novellas first, and then the first book. And it's just got it all. It's got witches and magic and mortal enemies and fated mates. And
is this the series you were talking about when we, last week when we talked about spicy scenes and you said book 1 really doesn't have spice, but book 2 is supposed to have more?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
She's going to bring all that Jay Bree goodness. Is it supposed to be a Why Choose?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't see it going in that direction.
Okay. I mean,
I haven't read it.
I guess we could
We
have
can
some
find out.
monogamous sex for once.
I guess so.
Wah, wah. Well, that's it for the nerdy news. I won't make the noise again, although I am tempted to. I want everybody to know
Just
that.
get it out of your system.
Woo, woo. So, now we're into the nerdy and dirty. Let's talk about what we're reading. I bet lots of things.
Well, I already told you what I'm reading. It's that Avalon Tower arc. And
yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. And then I think I'll be done with this right in time for spring break to start. And so I'll be reading Her Soul to Take, which is the Duskwalker series. And then I'm going to take The Ritual by Chantel. I'll put it in the notes. And then I want to read something else that's really smutty on my TBR. I can't remember what it is, but I've got like a whole plan for spring break. I'm excited.
Love it.
Oh, that's funny. Mindy, what are you reading?
Well, I just finished an arc by Julia Olivia. It's Out with the Tide. It's number 2 in her Never Harbor series, which I will say last week, I kind of said it was a Peter Pan retelling. It's not really a retelling. And I found that out when I was going to say it was a retelling this week.
Okay, can I ask how it's not a retelling?
It's inspired by. So, like, the characters have, like, similar names and they have got similar characteristics, maybe, of the characters. And then the town's called Never Harbor, and it's sort of got, like, allusions to the story, but it's not, like, the stories aren't.
It's not structured after the Peter Pan
yeah,
story.
here is my
Gotcha.
question, and we'll talk about this later because I want to talk about Emily McIntosh's books, and she also says they're not retellings, but she uses the names and they come from like Neverland or whatever. Do you think that's just copyright? They're like, no, it's not a retelling.
I don't know.
Because
sure.
I think it's a subtle difference.
ACOTAR is still a Beauty and the Beast retelling. She doesn't say it's inspired by, and it's not really at all the same.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
That is a good
Maybe there
question.
has to be. I mean, I'm sure for copyright stuff, there's like a percentage of the similar story, plot line, whatever. But
you
I
have
don't
to
know.
use.
Yeah.
And then some stuff becomes like open record, essentially.
Yes,
like
if
so,
it's
like
been-
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
You can. It's not copyrighted
if
anymore.
it's been
Yeah.
around long enough,
Right.
Which I don't know if it's like 75 years or something.
well,
maybe
Beauty
it's
and
more
the
than
Beast
that.
has been around for a long time. Come on.
Well, yeah.
Well, on a totally different note, when I finished that, I started another hockey romance.
Yay.
It's called Icebound. It's called Icebound by Meredith Trapp, and it's her debut novel. And it's been hyped up all over Instagram for a while now, and it lives up to the hype. I'm really,
Nice.
really enjoying it so far. It's definitely more geared like Helena Hunting
Yeah.
style, which I love. So it's very good. Good writing. It's Spicy.
The spice is spicing.
It's spicing.
It's always nice when you read something that's been really hyped up and actually enjoy it instead of being like, okay, that was overly hyped up.
Yeah.
I will say a couple of weeks ago, because you had read so many hockey arcs, I was like, if anyone new comes to our page, they're going to think we're a hockey romance page. I was like, I got to spread these out a little bit more.
I actually have read a couple more that I didn't send you. Not arcs, but like just other ones
Just
that I read.
books.
Well, I mean,
That's funny.
I have one on our list still that I read from July that I'll just put in, and you know, when I feel like it's appropriate. So you
Yeah.
can send them to me. I'm just not putting them out at the same time as this
I
one.
don't expect you to.
They'll go in the vault.
It was like 4 in a row. I was like, all right.
Well, 2 of them were arcs, though.
They were. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do, boo.
Yep.
One of my books is actually a hockey book too.
Really?
But I'm going to talk about that one second. So I mentioned this last time, The Pieces We Try to Forget by Elle Mitchell. It is a novella. It's a prequel to her book, The Pieces We Leave Behind. So in The Pieces We Leave Behind, there's the mom of the main character, and she is just like the worst. And she's very cold and mean and unfeeling and detached. And you're just like, she's a bitch. I hate her. But this book, The Pieces We Try to Forget, is about her and how she became the way that she is. And I went from really hating her to like sobbing in my bathroom because I felt so bad for her.
It's the Nesta effect.
I mean, kind of.
Is it also the one where you got toilet paper stuck all over your
Yes,
face?
it was this. It was this book, and it's. I don't know. I don't like her. I don't think, but I understand her,
Right.
And you understand why she is the way that she is. Like, she's still a bitch and not a great mom in the first book, but
Like, it doesn't change what she does.
right.
In the first book.
I definitely understand,
Yeah.
and I felt bad for her. So if you like to feel the feelings,
I like to feel like shit.
yeah, that comes
Go for
out April 15th by Elle Mitchell.
I will
friend
say,
of the pod.
too, I know you told me to check the trigger warnings.
Yes.
As someone with a not
Definitely.
great relationship with their mother. So
Yes, definitely check the trigger warnings. There's some child neglect. There's some, complicated parental relationships, to say the least. But just check the trigger warnings and keep yourself well and safe while you read.
And then you can cry.
And then you can cry, yeah. And then I read, this one is like a way 180 from that book. It's the one I was talking about at book club dinner.
God.
This is called Timelessly Ours. It's by Roxanne Tully. She has a hockey trilogy that's like three best friend girls, and they all like get with somebody on the team, right?
Okay.
And so this Timelessly Ours is an age gap with the coach of the team. And so I was talking about, I need to just read my Goodreads. Because I was talking about it at book club, and I was like, I really enjoyed it, but I'm really embarrassed at the fact that
While
I
you
enjoyed
look
it.
up your Goodreads, tell everyone that's listening what you also told us you read last year that you didn't want to put a review on.
I read a book last year. I did not review it anywhere. I don't think I might have put it on my Goodreads, but I definitely thought about not. It's called You Take My Daddy, I'll Take Yours. And I really enjoyed it too.
And then Whitney's like, and we decided at book club that Whitney doesn't get to pick anymore because I am not
Well,
reading
I
that
have
shit.
not picked anything like that for book club. That's
No,
just
you've
for my
not.
own like embarrassing reading. So if you look this book up, you'll see why I say this first sentence. This was my review on Goodreads. The cover of this book is embarrassing. The daddy issues side of this is embarrassing, considering that I enjoyed it so much. It does contain my least favorite trope ever, but I still enjoyed this book, and I do feel ashamed about that. 4 stars.
I bet the author
I
is
really
like,
liked
what
it.
the fuck? It sounded like you hated it.
No, I loved it. I loved it.
Age gap.
It's 17 years.
But
so
she's in her 20s,
yes,
right?
she's
Okay.
27, I
Right.
think. 20. She's in her late 20s,
I can
and he's
do
in
that
his,
age
his
gap.
I
mid
found
40s.
his 11-year
Yeah.
age gap.
I can hear, yeah, and he's a single dad.
If they're
He's got
in
a
their
young
20s,
daughter.
late 20s, I feel differently about it. Even better if they're in their 30s, though.
I really liked it.
So this is
I'll have to
this
check
is
that
a-
one out.
This is a gentle reminder too to authors is that some people do like the discreet covers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Swathi, I know that Swathi MH, she had some discreet covers come out. I know that
Yeah.
Emily Rath keeps her covers really discreet too.
Yeah, I
and it
appreciate
is
that.
for some people that maybe get a little more blushy, like Whitney does.
I've noticed that more and more romance authors are offering just like both.
they have both,
kinds.
yeah.
Yes. Well, this cover, I got a Kindle Unlimited, this cover is just a guy, a silver fox, if you will, with like washboard abs, but he's just like holding his shirt up and flexing his abs. That's what the cover is.
His head is way too small for his body.
Yeah, well, you can't really see his face. It's very clear that this picture is for the abs.
Well, because they're going to assume, they're like, well, you don't want to see this old guy. Here's his abs.
But it's just like,
for the record, he's like,
this is a lot.
He's like not that much older than we are.
No,
so,
yes,
yeah.
He's
not old. And he wouldn't be a silver fox by normal.
I mean, I guess some people gray early, but not in. He's like 44.
Right. Not 60-year-old gray hair.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why it's embarrassing, but it was really good and I liked it.
Was the spice spicing in that
The
one?
spice was spicing.
I'd also like
great.
to say it's more likely that a 44-year-old woman would go after a 26-year-old man.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If they had enough experience.
Who?
I mean,
The man.
The man?
yeah.
Yeah. I don't want no baby trying to figure out my lady parts.
Wow. The coach in this book knew. He
Exactly.
knew.
I thought you were saying, I
don't.
don't want a baby. I'm like, whoa, just because they're 27, it doesn't mean their seed is strong, Mindy. I thought your ride was closed anyway.
My ride is closed.
Anyway. So that's what we are reading. What are we watching?
I don't understand how you guys have time to watch stuff. I tried to go watch Imaginary with my husband 3 times in the last week, and every single time I've had to cancel.
Oh.
So I'm going to watch some shit next week while I'm on vacation.
What's Imaginary?
It's a horror movie about a teddy bear. I'm very excited.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not the Ryan Reynolds.
No.
Oh.
That's
Dawson had to tell me.
Imaginum.
It's called If, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
But it's
Well, there's
about
like an
imaginary
Immaculate
friends.
or something too. Because when Brian went to the movies last night, the guy at the movie was like, "Oh yeah, I keep giving people the wrong tickets because there's Imaginary and then Immaculate."
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
So Brian did say it was good and fun. So yeah, but I didn't get to watch that this week.
It's
And
like,
I've
well,
not
that's
watched anything
great
else.
for him.
I will say, Sadie and we were actually watching
Yeah, I
Supernatural
was
when
gonna
Mindy
say.
walked in, so I did actually watch one thing. But there's an episode where Abaddon comes back from the dead, and she's holding Dean's hair and saying all kinds of filthy stuff to him, and I was like, "We'll turn it off after this part."
My favorite when he says, "Are you going to kill me or are we going to make out?"
He's like, "I'm getting real mixed signals here." So yeah, nothing is my answer except for that one episode.
I watched something really depressing, actually.
Oh, do tell.
Good. I talked about all true crime stuff last week, so
So I just got intrigued. I kept seeing it everywhere, and I watched Quiet on Set, which is
oh man.
it's basically about all the gross things that happened with kids on set on Nickelodeon during the late 90s and through the 2000s. And
Yeah.
there was, trigger warning. There's
Lots of
abuse and, sexual abuse and
That's
just
awful.
It's
really bad.
awful. And you don't realize what a toxic environment it is. Just crazy stuff went on, and just kind of makes you hate men who are misogynists.
Well, and it also makes you think about how much of a cliche is it that child stars kind of lose it? And it's like, what have they been enduring?
Maybe
Right,
you shouldn't have made them work for 14 hours a day
Right,
and, over-sexualize them.
Well, and about this kind of stuff that
Did
the
you
abuse.
watch it?
I've seen a lot of. I feel like I've watched it
'Cause you see
because
a bunch of clips.
on TikTok.
I mean,
yeah.
because I watched this stuff with my kids,
I
right?
know,
So this
yeah.
was my kids' era of watching this. And I don't remember anything like super over sexualized, but some of the clips they were showing of like Ariana Grande doing some like
gross stuff,
questionable sexual things for a young, and she was very, very young at this point.
for kids to do on a kid show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like they pinpointed it with, it kind of came down to Dan Schneider, who was the producer on all these things and the creator. He just was like a big horny kid. Like
Yep.
he just liked those jokes. So there was like one girl was like, "Oh, that was a cum shot." Like, and she didn't even realize it. Somebody said that when she was 13, and she didn't even realize it till as an adult she watched it
Do you
later.
realize, was it you I was talking to, or maybe we recorded it when we were talking about Pretty Little Liars and how young the girls were, and one of them was 13
Yep.
while she was filming and was making out with people?
Yeah.
I'm like, my son is 12, and he still kind of thinks girls are gross.
Well, and it's like every other actor was like 25.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you have an actual
Super
child.
And like
weird.
these children that are filming this are filming some pretty graphic sexual scenes that are like, you don't see anything, but especially for kids filming them, it's a lot. And you know us, we're all about body positivity, but I'm also all about keeping kids safe.
Yeah, not exploiting children.
Right.
Yeah.
We always say with adult consent.
Exactly.
Yes.
Adult.
Right.
Well, and that was the other
Emphasis
thing. The
on
adults were
adult.
not encouraged to be around, even though by law they were supposed to be within.
No, you can trust us. We'll take good care of your kids. Here's $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really rough. Well, my show is not it's sad.
Oh, good.
It's Bridgerton.
Bring us up. Oh.
It's Bridgerton.
Which season?
I watched the first 2 seasons, not the Queen Charlotte, but the other 2. I really enjoyed it.
I told you.
I mean, I knew that I would, I guess. It surprised me because I think I just didn't realize how much it focused on the whole Bridgerton family. I didn't realize Bridgerton was a family. I thought Bridgerton was a place. And so I thought that it was like a town called Bridgerton and like, here's this couple. And that's what I thought the show was. I didn't realize it was going to focus on so many people. And I really enjoyed it.
We should watch episode 1 of season 3 when it comes out together in May.
Oh,
That would be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, but also you need to watch Queen Charlotte because I think it's better than the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, I just didn't have time. I watched, what is it, 16 episodes? First 2 seasons.
I guess you can have
I
another
was like, I gotta take a break. So that's what we're watching. Some sad things, some nothings, some Bridgerton. What are we listening to? Books? Music?
I'm not listening to books this week.
Ooh.
What are you listening to?
I mean, I'm listening to the same book that I've been listening to because it takes me forever because I only get to listen to it a half an hour a day. But right now I'm listening to a musical artist called Matthew Sweet. And he was, when I was in college, he was like the first college concert I went to, like when I was in college. And I remember I made one of my best friends in college. I made just because I randomly was like, "Hey, you look like you'd like this guy. Would you want to go to this concert?" And we ended up being really, really good friends. And so I'm going to his concert in April. I just don't know where it is.
It'll be a surprise.
So I wanted to, get reacquainted with his music, and it's been really fun listening to it. I'm very much like a mood listener. So when I listen to things that take me back to certain times in my life,
Me too.
I feel like that time in my life. So
Me too. Nice.
Cool.
Deb, what are you listening to?
Well, technically, I'm starting it tomorrow, but I am going to be listening to the audio arc of Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. I'm seeing it everywhere. It's got a really funny premise. It's about this woman who realizes at the altar she does not want to marry her husband and wishes that someone would object. And she meets up with this guy that does that for a living. And so she pairs up with him to go in and to object to weddings and just be
Wow.
like a paid person that's there to do that. And it sounds hilarious. It's getting really, really good reviews. But my library loan ran out on God of Chaos, so I'm really sad because it's going to take me weeks to get it again. So
Yeah.
as soon as that comes back, I'll go back to listening to the Scarlet St. Clair because it is really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason it was taking me so long to listen to it is there's just a lot of feelings in it.
Yes.
And I haven't been in the best mental space to feel sad, right?
Yeah.
And so I was listening to it really slowly. So maybe by the time I get it again, I'll be kind of in a better spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
So-
it won't take forever.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that ends in an HEA because you gave it 4 stars, but I know it's gonna take a bit to get there too. So Scarlet St. Clair is she rips your heart out of your chest and then she waits just a little bit and she hands it back to you while it's still barely pumping to put back in. We love you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really listening to anything except for my podcasts, 3 that I talked about last week with the true crime stuff. So you can listen to last week's episode to hear about 3.
Yeah, go listen to it if you haven't.
Go check it out. What are we loving?
what are you loving, Whitney?
Well, I finally, after almost 3 months, finished my bar certification for my barre, as my dad pronounces it, which is not correct, but it is differentiated from a drinking bar. It's a workout, the bar workout. So I'm finished with that certification, and that's fantastic. And I also am currently in first place in my family's March Madness bracket.
How the fuck did you do that?
I don't know, but I'm winning by a pretty good.
Did you go
margin.
by did you go by bulge size or how did you pick?
I mean, I kind of just like randomly went boom, 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 boom when I made my bracket, but I haven't told
I'd
anybody
be like,
that.
oh, I like those colors.
I mean, I got lucky with some of the picks that I made because I chose some of the upsets that have actually happened, but I'm in first
Did you
place.
have Kentucky?
I did not.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. No, I had them losing. No, I had them winning the game that they ended up losing and then losing the next one.
Okay.
So
you guys know this, but the listeners don't. Do you remember that time I told you how I didn't understand fantasy football? And I didn't realize it was based off the real games and the real players. I thought it was just like computer generated.
completely imaginary.
Yeah, people would get so pissed off, and I'm like, and I'm going to say Joe Montana. I know he's been retired for like 30 years, but that's how much I know about football. We're going to, like, Joe Montana has been pulled for an injury, and I'd be like, what the fuck? The computer just chooses that? So
It's very realistic.
once I understood it, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, otherwise, I was like, this is the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's really funny.
So that means I understand your whole bracket thingy, too.
And I am doing it, guys. So hopefully I'll keep winning. I would love nothing more than to win
Do
in first
you
place.
win
That would be
anything?
awesome.
Just bragging rights, and my whole family makes
Everybody
fun
needs
of
to
me.
put in $5. Come on.
Well, they wouldn't do it. The fam wouldn't do that. But everybody in my family makes fun of me because I'm very like sports stupid. And
I just said
named-
Joe Montana.
Well, that's at least a football player. So it was a correct.
Do you want to know why I know about him? I was watching something on TikTok, and when he was like at the height of his career, he figured out there was a phone on the sidelines, and when he was like taking his like quarter out or whatever, what do you call that? He's not in timeout, but you know what I mean. He's sitting on the bench. This is how much I know sports. He would call his wife and be like, "What are you doing? I'm at the football game right now." And
how's
I'm
it
like,
going?
"That is so fucking sweet.
Yeah.
I love that." Yeah.
Yeah. But I named my bracket, I don't get sports. So if you look in first place, it says, I don't get sports.
Next year
love
it
it.
needs to be who's winning the match, Pop.
Our trivia team name is Not Last.
That's the goal.
We have not been last one.
That's the goal every week. What are you guys loving?
How about you, Deb?
I'm not loving much this week because I'm prepping for the beach, and I'm going to love next week doubly.
You're loving the anticipation.
Right.
Yes.
I'm trying to, I have a show this weekend, like the day before we leave, and then I'm going to Denver like a week and a half when we get back. So I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done. So yeah, it'll be lovely on Sunday.
Yay!
Yay!
What about you, Mandy?
Mine's spring break related too, just because it's almost spring break.
Almost.
I've only got 4 more days of class before we're on spring break, and Margot the camper is almost ready for her maiden voyage, which we're going to take on spring
You
break.
need to put some pictures in the Our Nerdiest Thing
Well,
channel.
right now it looks like shit, so
because you're standing in it?
You could do some before. You could do some before and afters.
Look.
Take some before pictures. So
No, I
for some
did. I
afters,
will,
too.
but I don't want the before pictures aren't cute. But I did cover the couch this weekend, and it's so cute. I'm so excited.
So Mindy's going to put her done pictures
Yes.
in the Our Nerdiest Thing
I
channel.
will do that.
Which is on Instagram. You need to come join it because we post stuff in there all the time.
We are pretty cool. We're cool cats.
The cool cats and kittens.
Our channel's bitching, guys. You need
Whitney's
to
the
join
kitten.
it.
Me and Mindy are the cats.
Well, Deb, I know you have convinced me to read this book.
Yeah, I actually already text messaged Mindy about this yesterday, and I put it in our Nerdiest Thing channel.
I saw
So I want to talk about Lore of the Wilds. This was actually a book I got from NetGalley. It was an ARC, but it's already out because I'm late on ARCs, really late on some ARCs. Sorry about that. So Lore is a woman living in the only human territory on the planet, and she's coerced to leave her city to help Fae royalty unlock the magic inside a library that's been warded against anyone with Fae blood to enter. So she learns more about the library, and then a grimoire starts calling out to her and makes a bargain to protect her if she takes her magic within herself.
Ooh.
So while on the run with the bodyguard that had been, posted outside the library while she was working in there, Lore begins to learn to harness the magic and cast spells, all while the Fae are working on a plan of revenge to steal the grimoire and return it to its rightful owner. The book is awesome. It's got great, easy to follow world building. And what I really like is Lore is not a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
She's like 26 years old. And instead of being like, oh my gosh, Faye, bodyguard, help me, she works with those protecting her to keep herself and the human population safe. So what's really interesting is the humans, whatever this planet is, they weren't originally from there. There's one settlement on the entire planet for humans, and the Fae are pretty much trying to eradicate them at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
They see them as like slaves or whatever.
Yeah.
So only complaint is I haven't seen any kind of sequel information, and it definitely ends on a cliffhanger. So, girl, you better be writing a sequel.
Well, you had me a library.
Yeah, I really, really liked it. It had a lot of the tropes that we really love. There is, I wouldn't call it a love triangle. There's like a secondary kind of interest, though, that makes it really interesting, too. So go pick it up. It's really great.
Nice. Thank you so much. Well, that brings us to our nerdiest topic, fairy tale retellings. And we all basically have a little list of recommendations. But before we get into the recommendations, do you guys have characteristics that you want from your fairy tale retellings?
I do.
Because I pretty much just don't want it to be cheesy. I don't want it to be exactly like the fairy tale that I know. I want it to be different and not super cheesy. That's
So that
really
was
it
one
for
of
me.
my things. I do prefer a twist on the story. Like, what is the author doing to make their story different from the original? I also really prefer spice in my retellings because, come on, almost all of them have a really heavy romance component.
Right.
Yeah.
And we like the spice. And then I personally really like a retelling that's in an urban setting because it forces some new world building into the story. Since, I mean, almost all fairy tales are set on, like, there's knights and horses and swords,
Yeah,
right?
like a medieval
So,
kind of thing.
Mindy, I know you're going to talk about A Curse So Dark and Lonely later, but that's a urban, like, real timeline in life, right? That she starts and she's in Washington, D.C., and I really love that about that series. So, I need them to feel new, even if I know the concept of the story.
I would agree with really everything you just said, Deb. But the part of it that I really, really have to have is that I really need it to be twisted into something new, kind of like you were talking about. Like, I kind of like that in everything. Like, I'm going to digress a little bit here, but I love a really good cover song, but I like it even better if it's totally different from the original.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, a guy named Obadiah Parker does Hey Ya, but it's like slow and acoustic guitar, and then Jonathan Colton does Baby Got Back, same thing, and they're awesome. Like, they're great to listen to, but they're also hilarious. Like, you can't like not laugh.
What's the big band that takes the songs and like puts them into
Me First and Gimme?
Oh
Gimme
yeah,
Gimme?
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. They are so awesome.
Yeah, they do. Like, they're more like take something slow and make it punk rock.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And like they play like the horns and stuff, which
Yeah.
I always really love. It kind of reminds me of like Brian Seltzer Orchestra or something like that.
Oh.
She's like, I don't know who that is.
I do.
Think of big band ska music.
That just makes me think of the old Gap commercials. Is that
It's
Like late
very
90s?
Yeah.
I was listening to NSYNC.
I didn't realize until I was probably in my late 20s. I used to love the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. They were
I
a
loved
big
them
band.
too.
And then I was like, that name is
awful.
gross.
I was about to say, ew.
I know. And like, and when I was in middle school listening to them, I was like, oh yeah, I like cherries. Like,
I love the cherry poppers.
Fun fact, when Darren and I were dating, there was a local club here that would do, on certain nights, would do like swing dance lessons, and then they'd have they would do swing dancing after, and Darren and I learned how to swing dance together.
Oh,
We
nice.
actually
is that how you got your children?
we actually at our wedding, part of our dance was a swing dance.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
That's cool.
Brian just put his hand on my ass at our wedding. That was our main thing.
I might have
Was it
gotten
like-
a hand on the ass at mine also.
Was it like a big presentation? I envision
He's
you
like,
standing in
"And
front of
now
everybody.
Brian is going to place his hand.
Yeah, instead of
on my ass.
you may now kiss the bride. Like
You may
just
now
grab it.
I mean, I grabbed his junk in front of 200 people. I'm just kidding. No, my wedding was very, very sweet. And we did like, the hands around the neck and the hands around the waist slow dance, but that was it.
Save
I
some
didn't
room for
learn
the Holy
shit.
Spirit kind of deal.
We didn't that night, I can tell you that much.
Oh man. Well, okay. Anyway, fairy tales.
Whitney's like, oh my God, they talked about sex on the wedding night.
I can't. I'm scandalized. Mindy, will you share with us your recommendations for fairy tale retellings?
Sure. I think most of you all have read most of these. But like Deb had mentioned before, A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmer is one of my favorite fairy tale retellings. And it really actually doesn't have a ton of spice in it. And because I usually like to have spice too, but there's something really cool about the juxtaposition of her like urban world and then their world that's sort of separate from I don't want to like give away too much, but it's like almost on a separate plane or something. It's
different. I would say it's in a different dimension. Yeah.
So, and it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and not like super like obvious, I don't think, but there is like a beast aspect and whatnot. And I love it too because it's got really good, she has a disability.
She has cerebral palsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the rep in that it's just, she's not a damsel in distress. She definitely can kick ass even with her, cerebral palsy. So really, really good book. I like that. And
you're welcome.
I know.
By the way.
Deb had begged me to read that for
like a year.
Ever.
Have you read the second and third books?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Believe me.
Keep going. She's got to read my daddy hockey books first.
I got to get to the summer first.
Well, yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, Bridget Kemmerer books, the world building is very easy to follow, but they are not short books.
Yeah, no. Then, of course, there's the Plated Prisoner series, which we've read. And
You're also welcome.
I know, right? And that one's really cool because it's a Midas retelling, but there's definitely a twist in there, which is just amazing.
Also, last season we did cover one of the books in the series, so you should listen to that.
Then I actually haven't read these, but they have been recommended and they're on my to be read, and they just look so good. It's the Entangled with Fae series by Tessania Odette. And the first one is Curse of the Wolf King, and it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And then there's 4 more. She's got Heart of the Raven Prince, which is Cinderella, Kiss of the Selkie, which is Little Mermaid, A Taste of Poison, which is Snow White, and A Dream So Wicked, Sleeping Beauty. So each one's a different fairy tale retelling. And bonus, the covers are exquisitely beautiful. Just really, they look fairy tale-ish.
Do you know if you have to read them in order?
I don't think you do.
Because I would love to read a Snow White retelling.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
They Especially don't look if it's reverse harem and they're all grumpy.
No, they're... That would be amazing.
I'm grumpy. No, I'm grumpy. No, I'm grumpy.
And then for like a little YA twist, I guess it's not really even YA, it's pretty much middle grade, but I love Ella Enchanted, which is a Sleeping Beauty-ish general fairy tales retelling.
I never read that.
If you've seen the movie, it's very, very similar.
I mean, I think the movie, that's one of those instances where the movie is better.
I love the movie.
It has, what's her face in it? Who is that?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
I think I was just too old. Like
You
I was
might have been.
just at the age where I was like, that's not cool. That's for little kids.
You'd really like it now, I think.
Yeah,
I
it's
bet I
really,
would.
really cute.
I'll add it to the list.
It's something you can watch with Annabelle later.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet, but
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Well, and then you talking about you would like to read a Snow White. I still am looking for a really, really, really good Alice retelling because I've read some and none of them have really like lived up to, and whether it's just the writing's not as good or it was just okay. I don't know if any listeners have any recommendations, or if you come across an Alice retelling that looks really, really cool, send it my way because I will read it. I'm really looking for that because that's my favorite.
Yeah.
She wants someone to scream, "Eat me" at Alice.
Absolutely. I don't know why nobody's done that before.
Well, thank you, Mindy. Deb, what about your recommendations?
So I have 4. The first one, I mean, no one put this in the show notes. We can't leave out ACOTAR. It's the obvious one.
Yeah.
But we're not going to spend time talking about it because you have either listened to the episodes of the podcast or you've read it or you know what it's about.
Yes.
It's ACOTAR, right? So the other one I want to talk about is To Hunt a Demon King. It's by Madeline Elliott, and she's known as the Queen of Cozy Spice, and she is. But this book is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, complete with the mysterious hunter in the woods.
Ooh.
And so that's
I
a
like
trilogy.
that.
It's really fun,
I
actually.
like that too.
And it's got a really nice twist that you don't expect. And then there's To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. This is a Rapunzel retelling where a girl with magical blood is locked in a tower for her entire life. And she finds out at the end of the story exactly why they've kept her locked up, and then she escapes, which is really cool. And honestly, I read the first one, and then I actually went to Audible and bought book 2. But the narrator is Stina Nielsen. So I keep picturing Poppy from Blood and Ash when
Yeah.
she's the girl character.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to read it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. But
That's hard.
they're long books. So, but I've heard the second book is really fantastic. So, at some point I'll read that when I get caught up on all these arcs. And then, I requested like 10 the other day. And then finally, I already brought this up earlier, but the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. I guess these would be inspired by, but my favorite one is the Peter Pan one. It's really cool. Yeah. And then there's an Aladdin one. There's a Lion King one. And I forget what the other one's about, but there's only been one that I didn't like love, and it was just a trope that I didn't like. It wasn't that it was bad writing or anything, but she's also a Kentucky native. So, yeah.
I read the Aladdin one and liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it was good.
I can't either. We can put it in the show notes. She's pretty awesome. I did just link the whole series just so the listeners know you can go check all of them out, because you do not have to read those in order. They're standalone.
Yeah, I appreciate a standalone sometimes.
Too. Yeah. What about you, Whitney?
Well, I have 3, but one of them is a series. So first of all, Rise of the Cinder Fae by Whitney Dean. I read that arc recently. It just came out, and it is a Cinderella retelling with a fae twist, and she really does take that story and make it unique and make it her own, especially with the bringing a fae world into it. It's really, really good. And she's going to be writing a whole series, I think. I don't know how many books she's planning on doing for retellings, but in October of this year, 2024, she's going to release a darker Jack Skellington inspired story called...
The artwork's cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Demise of the Heart Dove is what that's called. So I'm really excited about that.
I don't think I've ever read a Jack Skellington.
I know. I don't think I have either. I'm excited
wish
about it.
Someone would do a really cool Headless Horseman one.
Ooh.
That would be a fun retelling.
That would be a good one.
You could be a shadow daddy.
Yeah.
I just bit my lip for those of you that can't see me.
She won't be running her hair through his fingers through his hair, though.
Right. That would be awkward.
Well, it depends on if he's getting head or not.
This one, I have not read this book, but I have read this author, Barely Gold by N.D. Jones. She is an Imaginarium Book Festival author, and she wrote this book. It's a Goldilocks retelling that centers around basically saving kids from child trafficking. It's an urban setting, like you were talking about earlier, Deb. I've read some of her other books. I really like her style of writing.
She's extremely intelligent, but not without it being too wordy.
Right. It's not too difficult. It doesn't make me feel dumb to read it, right? But
we're smart, damn it.
Yeah, she has a whole fairytale fatale series. Indeed,
that's cool.
Yeah, and it's a standalone, but this is actually the second book. So if you look up Barely Gold by N.D. Jones, you'll see the other books in that series as well.
She's coming back to Imaginarium, isn't
she? Is.
And,
yeah.
I mean, for the listeners, we will be there again running the panel. So I may have to get some of her retellings while we're there.
Yeah, she's really great. She writes really strong heroines. She is POC representation, and she just does a really good job bringing fantasy into whatever story she's telling. It's like the fantasy is not the focus, the story itself is the focus. She does a really good job with that.
I think too, people that put you in an urban setting, because I think when you open a fantasy book, you're thinking horses, swords, castles. So sometimes what I find, if someone is going into urban fantasy, but I've not found that with ND or Bridget Kemmerer, but sometimes they just start talking about this urban stuff and you weren't imagining that.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like it needs to be explicitly.
It comes out of nowhere.
It needs in the first chapter. They are walking on the paved streets of Atlanta.
Establish the setting.
Right. This one, the Barely Gold, the cover art is very much like a city. Yeah. It's a city landscape in the background, and you can tell from just the cover. I'm like, urban.
There
I get
we
it.
go. Thanks, Andy.
And then last but not least, the Beast of the Briars series by Elizabeth Helen, the sister writer duo.
That's the other one I'm reading on spring break.
Yes,
I knew there was one on the Kindle I was going to read.
Good. I read it on a beach trip too. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's fae and it's why choose.
I like that twist.
Their
really
little
good.
quote things that they post all the time. I'm like, oh my God, why have I not read this yet?
Yeah, it's 4. No, it's 5. I can't remember how many, guys.
Book 4 is about to come out this year.
Book 4 is about to come out. Each book kind of focuses on a different one of the Why Choose love interests, and they all have very different personalities, and it's really good, and it's got good spice.
Cool.
I highly recommend it. Have you guys noticed Beauty and the Beast retelling seems to be the most prevalent?
I mean, it was because of ACOTAR. I
guess.
I think the publishers were then like, well, shit, people like this. I really do think that's why.
I think it's an easy jump also. You've Beauty and the Beast. It's like definitely Grumpy Sunshine, enemies to lovers. So it fits into so many different tropes that it's easier, I think, to make that connection.
I've been getting a lot of TikToks, about the Disney Beauty and the Beast movie where
It's like, why did we start loving monsters?
Not that, but just when the beast turns back into the prince and it focuses on Belle's face and she's like, ugh. I liked him better before. Like, why do you
What
turn
happened
back?
to all your chest hair, man?
It makes me laugh a lot because I've never noticed that before. But, well, those are our recommendations. There are lots more fairy tale retellings out there. Those are just a few of our favorites. So feel free, please share with us your favorite fairy tale retellings. And that brings us to the nerdiest thing of the week.
So I told you earlier I had an Outlander nerdiest thing of the week. And today they released an Instagram reel that was like a 10-year recap and all the actors going in and looking at pictures and stuff. And I fucking started crying. Because I love that show. I love the fandom. I love the books, right? And the fact that they have dragged this out and like killed the love for it a little bit. So like the reel reminded me how much I love the show, right? Because I mean, I probably once a month still go back and watch season 1 and 2, right? When I'm in the studio or something.
Season 1 a lot.
Man, season 1 is so great. Season 2 has a lot more like trigger warning stuff, but
for sure.
And then season 3 is great too. But then
season 4 was good.
Yeah, and then season 5. So yeah, crying over a Instagram reel. Thanks a lot, Outlander stars.
Well, at least you didn't wipe your face with a tissue and leave
then get it stuck on your face.
I don't think I've ever cried that hard, which is probably why I'm so hard inside. Maybe if I let it out.
You need a release. Pick one of Elle's other books.
God. I will say her 2 books I have read, I did bawl while I read
know.
them.
Yeah,
one of them I threw my
good.
Kindle. I went and picked it back up, but I was so mad for a second. I threw it against the couch. It was like 2 a.m. I was like, fuck this. And it was like 15 seconds. And I was like, okay, I got to see what happens.
Yeah, let me keep reading. Maybe it'll get better. And it always does. Mindy, what's your nerdiest thing of the week?
My nerdiest thing of the week has to do with trivia. So one thing that we're all weak on is history and the periodic table of the elements. So one of the ladies that I do trivia with, she's like, I'm just going to go watch all the drunk history episodes.
Those are so good.
Yes. So she's like, so I'll take on history. And I was like, okay, I'll take on the periodic table of the elements. So I've been studying the periodic table of the elements. I have it like taped up on my window, like right in front of my...
I don't think the periodic table has a cool, fun...
It doesn't.
accessory like drunk history.
I was looking for like a cool like Animaniacs.
I bet there's a rhyme or something somewhere.
There's got to be something.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Something
like that.
So far, I've just found like a very intellectual, but like easy to read sort of.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going through that, but I'm slogging through it. So like I need to find again. Listeners, recommendations for fun ways to learn the periodic table.
How many how many are on there?
Too many.
Like 66 or something.
Like that.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
I know what O is and H and CO2.
But I mean, there's
FE.
so many
CO2 is
questions
not on there,
about...
Oh, yeah, because it's a compound. Carbon, C.
Yeah, there's so many questions about the periodic table, and we always get them wrong.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
The other thing I need to look at is like states, but it's more like
kick
geography.
ass on that
It's
because
like geography stuff.
Do you remember in grade school and middle school playing the game where you had to match the capital with the state on like the old school Apple computers? I think I would kill at that.
I don't think we did that one.
I need to go back and do some more of that because
yeah. Play some Oregon Trail.
My
the
kids,
old school PC
There
games,
was an Animaniacs for the capitals, the states and capitals. My kids learned that one.
And
Nice.
ironically, it was on a hard disk, which is floppy.
The floppy disk.
I know, right?
Yep.
Well, good luck with that, Mindy.
Yeah, don't bring us into that shit.
My nerdiest thing of the week is a little more science-based as well, but it's not the periodic table. So since I finished my bar teaching certification, I had to do more training, like immediately, on breathing techniques. Oh. And so I had to watch these videos that were like deep dives on breathing through your nose and diaphragmatic breathing. And it like made me feel like sick to my stomach. Like it was so focused on like feel.
Were you breathing too much?
Yes, like it had us do like feel your diaphragm to make sure you're breathing with your diaphragm, and then it was like it made me feel gross. Like, I was like, I don't want to feel my diaphragm while I'm breathing. Like, I'm fine.
Well, if
I don't
you're
think too much about what I'm breathing in.
yeah, it made me feel gross, but I was like, this is the nerdiest thing of the week.
if you're
right here.
breathing right, though, your stomach is supposed to go out and your
No, and it
shoulders are not
does.
supposed to move. But it's hard because that's like a relaxation technique, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, but now I look fat.
But see, I did all of that training when I was a music minor in
I
college.
thought you were about
Yeah.
to say when you had pelvic floor therapy. That's
well,
when I did it.
that too.
You can
but
use it to drop your pelvic floor, friends.
I already know how to breathe with my diaphragm. So it just like really grossed me out, and I was like, this is really nerdy.
No,
so
thank you.
But anyway, we're nerds and we love it. Well, that's it for our fairy tale retelling episode. Stay tuned later this week for our first episode to discuss Crescent City Book 2, House of Sky and Breath. We'll be talking about part 1, chapters 1 through 24.
Can't wait.
We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. Email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.